Hey guys, Rachel asked me to do a quick comparison video just to give you an idea on the differences and the similarities, of which there are many, between the Intrepid camera and my new Carbon Adventurer here. I've had both of these for not very long. I got my Intrepid camera just over a year ago, and I got my Chroma camera just over a week ago. So let's start with the most obvious thing. The Chroma is bigger than the Intrepid. Not massively, but you know, there is a size difference there. Weight wise, a little bit heavier. You can get the exact statistics on the website, but it's a little bit heavier, but there's really not very much in it. They're both very portable cameras, but the Intrepid is smaller and a little bit lighter. They both fold down, and the Intrepid, when it folds down, is a more compact unit. So I'm going to show you how it folds down now. So you've got a little screw on the front here, which you can undo that. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. That undoes. Okay. And then on the back here, two little release things, and you push that back in there, and just make sure, hang on a second, just make sure it's in the right place. There you go, down like that. As you can see, this is a really nice, compact. It does come with a screen cover on the back, but I've put mine somewhere, because to be honest, the one thing I did find is that when you got the screen cover on the back, it's really hard to get it off. So, but yeah, very nice, compact, lightweight. Put that to one side. The Chroma, very similar, slightly different now. So again, loosen off some of these things. I'll show you what all these do in a minute. Loosen off that, loosen off that. I will never tire of this with the Chroma. So unlike the Chroma, you don't have to undo things. You just loosen it. That folds down like that, folds into there. That falls down like that. The bazinga. And there you have it. Side by side comparison here. Let me just angle it down just a little bit so you can see. So the Chroma is, again, it's bigger when folded down. The Chroma does have one neat trick that the Intrepid cannot do though, with regards to folding. So I will bring it back up again. Again, just the reverse. Let's bring that up. Tighten that up for a second, pop that back up. So what the Chroma can do that the Intrepid can't is, if you've got a small lens, so this is a lens that my good friend Alex Purcell lent me, and it's quite a popular lens. This is the, what is this? The Schneider Kreuzschnitz, that's how you say that, 90mm 6.8. Quite a popular lens, quite a nice wide angle lens, quite a lot of people have this. So it's also quite a small lens. And with this lens in place, you can fold it down and keep it all working. So you can actually use the camera without having to take the lens off, which, because the Intrepid folds down so flat, no room even for a small lens in there. So that's one neat little thing with the Chroma, right? So the Chroma is very straightforward in terms of folding and unfolding. I say it is literally just reverse. Bring it back up, tighten those up, unfold that. The most fun thing to do ever with a transforming camera, and just tighten things up and you're away. The Intrepid is a little bit more fiddly. I mean, again, it's very simple. It's the exact reverse. You just bring it back up, tighten these up, hold that in place, and then get this. Now you've got different holes here, you see that, and it's actually going to use that depending on which length lens you're using. So if you're using a wider angle lens, you're going to use one of the holes close to the backboard so that the focal distance is shorter. If you're using a 250mm lens or something like that, you're going to be down, right down the middle if you're doing very close work. And you've got that little screw there, and again, you choose the hole you want. This is going to be frustrating for people now. Get it in there and then tighten that up under there, and then it goes. You've got, on both of these cameras, you've got grooves at the front to help you line them up. I would say that's one thing on both these cameras that I kind of would like a little bit more definition maybe just lines across the front, something to make it easier to see when it's completely lined up, because they're not great. But anyway, that's it. It's nice and simple and straightforward. So folding it and unfolding, both of those are both very easy, both work well. Okay, let's talk about functionality. So in terms of movements, again, a lot of similarities. Both cameras have rise and fall at the front. So you can see here, Intrepid's got pretty good range. I can go to the top there, tighten that there. Not bad for a little camera, not bad at all. No rise and fall at the rear, just at the front. There, and you've got tilt that way and that way. That way and that way. This is very difficult doing this thing here. And also you have got shift. So you can move it to the left and to the right as well. Sounds like something fell out then. Oh well, I'm sure it's fine. Good range of movement, but it's pretty much all in the front. You can obviously do some tilting on the back as well. It does go past axis at the back, but there's no rise and fall or shift on the back, and that's, you would not expect that from this kind of camera. But yeah, good range of movements. The movements control, so you've got two locking nuts here. The one locks down the up and down, the other the back and forwards. So tighten that up, and that holds that in place. Unfortunately on my Intrepid, when it turned up, as you can see, that not really functioning quite as it should be. Now, I know if I got in touch with Intrepid and sent it back to them, they would sort this out for me in a heartbeat. I just didn't want to, because I wanted to play with the camera, and so I've just put up with it, and it's been fine. And again, got the screw in there. So that's how that works. And the Carbon Adventurer, very much the same. So you've got, on the front, same movements. You've got, let me tighten that up first, that would help. So you've got rise, fall there. One of the nice things about the Carbon Adventurer is that, and I think that the Chromas are all the same with this, it has, I think it's using magnets to hold it, but you can tell when it's in the middle. So raise it up, and it wants to sit in the middle there. You can just feel it's catching, and then you push it down past, so you know when you're centered. If you've got a heavier lens in, the magnets won't hold the weight, but you can still feel it. That's a nice thing. Likewise with, hang on, so let's tighten up that so it's held in place. Likewise with the tilting, it wants to go central, which the Intrepid, you can get perfectly central, but you have to use the spirit levels to make sure you're straight with that, and it's just a bit easier with this. But again, same thing, two things there. The outer ones control the tilt, the inner ones control the rise and the fall. And as with the Intrepid, you've got these at the front here, two little things here. Now these are used to change the focal length, so you don't have holes on this one, you can just slide it, so infinitely variable, and also the shift like that and across. So same range of movements, just achieved in a slightly different way. Again, to get things straight, you've got two little notches at the front here, which you can use to just eyeball and get that straight, and then tighten them up. I know that on the I can't remember what the other maker, the other Chroma camera, the Prime whatever it's called, the other non-carbon, is that he has got markings. Steve has put markings across here. I don't know whether the reason there aren't on here is because either he didn't want to mess with the look of the carbon fibre, or it just didn't work so well for marking it. But either way, it's kind of a feature I would like on this. So yes, that's the main differences on this. You don't have the holes, and also you don't have to unscrew it all. What else would I say about these two in front? yeah, basically you've got a very, very similar range of movements. On this, you can obviously swing there, but that's not really an angle you're going to want to do. You want to swing, pivot from the middle. So on the back, this is where it becomes a bit different. On the back, you have got rise and fall on the back here. So again, you've got the magnets holding it in place in the center, but you have actually got some rise and fall on the back, and also there we go, the ability to do some tilting at the back there. Doesn't appear to be any kind of lock here, but you can kind of feel roughly when it's square there. So that's the movements. They're both doing much the same thing. Both offer you a pretty impressive range of movements for the size of cameras. The Carbon Adventurer actually has quite a few more nifty little tricks up its sleeve. And I had so much fun with this the first day it turned up, just putting it on the tripod and just playing with it, because there's so many things that you can just do with it. All of these things that it can do, in addition to what the Intrepid can do, are really focused around using wider angle lenses. This is where they're going to come into force. So if you tend to use wide angle lenses, these are things worth knowing. An important one to start with. When I got for my birthday a very nice 75mm lens, this is a nice where are we here, Schneider Kreuzschnitz 70mm f8, a good cheap very wide angle lens. I got it before the Chroma turned up, and so obviously I wanted to test it out, see what it was like, and stuck it on the Intrepid. We mentioned earlier that the Intrepid uses a system of holes on the back here, so that you move it back to get wider focal length, move it into the furthest hole to the back to get the widest focal length, and then fine tune it with that. What I found was I could not get the front standard close enough to the rear standard to focus the 75mm lens to infinity. So without a recessed lens board, which is a thing you can buy recessed lens boards which sit the lens further back in the hole, but without that I could not focus this lens to infinity. And let's face it, when you're using a 75mm lens, infinity is kind of important. So that was that. It wasn't a problem. I knew I had the Chroma coming, although I did drop a message to Steve at the time saying, I've just hit this, is this going to focus far enough back? But yeah, because of the limitations, because there's only so far back you can go on the hole, only so far back you can wind it, there was no way around it. So my Chroma turns up. I have been assured by Steve that this will be fine, and fortunately he's right. So we talked earlier about the fact that to adjust the focal length on this, you just undo these two screws at the front, push it back, and I could get it closer. And that was no problem. In fact, there's a bit of bandwidth to play with. So I could get far enough back, tighten it down, infinity focus, no problem at all. So that's with a 75mm lens. I still have just enough wiggle room to get a bit of rise and fall in here. Not a lot, it's a bit tight, but I'm not going to be doing much movements with it because it's a 75mm lens. That's fine. Let's say I was using a wider angle lens. Even wider, can you imagine such a thing? Even wider. Let's say I was using a 45mm lens or something like that. There's going to be no room for movement if I do that. The bellows will be too compressed. There's no room to go. So, is there a way around solving that problem? Yes, there is. You could use bag bellows. Bag bellows don't have the pleats in. They are wider. They're specially designed for using with wide angle lenses. And Steve has produced some for his range of cameras. How do you swap between the standard bellows and bag bellows? This will come as no surprise to anybody who has been following along so far. Steve loved magnets. Undo at the front and pull out at the bottom, and it's that simple. This is actually take two because I forgot there's a thing to pull out at the bottom. And there you go. You have one, according, which is great. You have very sexy naked Chroma. I don't have a bag bellows to show you, I'm afraid, because I don't have a super wide angle lens. I have a wide angle lens, but not an ultra wide, and I might get one in the future, let's face it. I might get a bag bellows just to give me more movement room. But the bag bellows just snap into place just the same way. So very nice and easy to use. Again, they just... and also, if you ever happen to damage your bellows, quite how you would do that, I don't know. But that's how easy it is replacing them. On the Intrepid, they're glued into place. You're not taking those off. So that's one of the very cool things about this. The other thing with regards to shooting super wide angle lenses, as I said, we're talking 45, 50 mils wider, is that when you've got the lens board right back here, the front stand right back there, and you've got a very wide field of view, you're going to get some of the baseboard in the shot because it's a super wide angle lens. How do you get around that problem? Well, as always, Steve's thinking of solutions to these things. On the bottom of the camera, you have two, count them, it won't take long, two screws. Undo those. The whole rear standard slides forward. So you can move it forward, right to front, no baseboard to be in your picture. We're going above and beyond here in terms of what features. And I said, this is not a thing that, for me, at the moment is important, but it's nice to know that the camera has that functionality. This is a functionality that you cannot get with really much else, unless you're going up quite a lot in terms of cost. Another thing, which I'd forgotten about, tighten those up. Very nice, easy to grip screw size on this. We talked about movement on the front and back earlier, and I'd forgotten, because again, there's so many things. We talked about the swing on the front. We talked about the rise and fall on the back. I forgot. There's two more screws. Of course, there's two more screws. Undo these two more screws. Of course you got some swing on the back. Of course you have. And there's a nice little line here to make sure you do get the back completely square. Nice line at the back. Where are the lines at the front? So more features. I think that's everything that the Chroma does. It might cook you breakfast, but I haven't tried that yet. But I just really wanted to mention those points. They're things that I don't think about because I'm not shooting ultra wide angle at the moment. But they're amazing features that you just cannot get. I mean, you cannot get in this price with anything else. And so if ultra wide is your thing, that's a no-brainer. Let's turn these bad boys around. So, both got nice etched glass screens. I'd say they're both fairly comparable in terms of brightness. They're not Fresnel screens as such, but they're good screens. You can get Fresnel inserts to sit behind on the Carbon Adventurer. I don't know with the Chroma. I haven't tried them. At the moment, I'm using a very quick and dirty cheat of just putting a magnifying sheet behind to improve mine. They both can be rotated, as you can see. So on the Intrepid, you just rotate it by... Oops. Okay, now this is... I need to wind this out a bit because it won't rotate if it's not quite lined up right. Hang on. This is on me. Okay, there you go. So, what's that catching? Okay, so that rotates just by rotating it, which is great, very convenient, and then it takes any standard dark slide. Great, nice and easy. The Carbon Adventurer, slightly different. The back on this is held in place with magnets. Steve really loves magnets. So to get the back off, you just pull. Hang on, I have to cut it. Now, Steve loves strong magnets. Okay, there you go. Back comes off, and then watch your fingers. They go back in place. Now, advantages and disadvantages of the two different systems. When it's at the right position, so you can turn it freely. Obviously, just being able to turn the back is easier than taking it off, rotating it and putting it on. Not much easier, but a bit easier. The magnets in this are pretty fierce, so you do feel a bit like you're having to really pry them off. And and obviously it's not going to fall off. You're not going to lose it on the rotating back because it can't fall off. The disadvantage is it's quite easy to just knock it slightly and not have it quite straight. You've got a dark cloth over there, you're working backwards and forwards. If you're not quite lined up, that can, you know, it doesn't have to be much out and suddenly things run the wonk. You cannot do that with this. Once it's in place, as demonstrated, it's in place. Another thing about the magnetic backs, it's easy to get off that, is that because it comes off completely, there is the possibility in the future for putting different backs on here. So this back is designed to take a standard double dark slide, but oops, how do I put it in the right way? Also, you can put it upside down if you're a fool. Snap, snap, fingers gone. But I know that Steve is looking at things like a roll film bag for the camera, and other things. Steve never stops fiddling around with stuff. So the fact that you've got an easily expanded back there is useful. It's a good thing. It's just a difference, but I have found in the past that the rotating back, I do knock that a bit. And in terms of fine focusing, whilst we're looking at the back here, very similar. So this is an Intrepid Mk IV, by the way. This is the most recent variant. And they have both got the same thing for fine focusing of a wheel at the back here, which you adjust. There we go. Little wheel there. Turn. And the same on the Intrepid. The one on the Carbon Adventurer, the one on the Carbon Adventurer sticks out further, adding to bulk. Also got, this is such a small thing, but it's got a little stick that pokes through, which means you can kind of wind it easier. Makes the camera bulkier and bigger, makes focusing a little less fiddly. And I think that's kind of the key details with them. Changing lenses. The Chroma takes, I believe these are Linhof lens boards, standard Linhof lens boards. As you can see, again, magnets, again with the magnets. So there's just a little thing here, magnets hold in place, lift up, in it goes. That's that. Slightly different on the Intrepid. On this, got a little latch up there. Now, Intrepid lens boards, this is an Intrepid's own lens board. You can see it's square, fit the square hole. It will take these lens boards, the Linhof lens boards. Sometimes it can just be a little bit of a squeeze, but they do go in there just fine. And then that goes down there, all good, all nice and fine. So no real difference there. In terms of other features, there's really not much else to say. They've got spirit levels on the top here. Again, you can see there's a spirit level missing from mine. When my Intrepid arrived, one of the spirit levels was rattling around in the box, and I've just never got around to gluing it back in again. The Carbon Adventurer again has different but two spirit levels on top, the circular one, so centre. So you've got no excuses for getting them nice and straight. So there you go, that's the difference. Alike in a lot of ways, different in a few fundamental ways. And obviously an important difference is this camera is more expensive than this camera. At the time of going to voice, I think, I should have looked this up, but I think the Intrepid is around £275. The Carbon Adventurer, which is the most expensive Chroma camera, is £500. Or you can also get the Advanced, which is, I think, £350, £300, somewhere around there. These things are always changing. That's not true. I just haven't looked it up. But yes, there is a price difference. But that's what you're getting for the differences. I suppose the key fundamentals are, it's easier. They can both take fantastic pictures. They're large format cameras. They're both more than capable of taking very good pictures. For me personally, what the advantage and why I was prepared to splash out and buy a camera which cost me twice what I paid for this is the ease of getting it locked down, squared up, etc. The Intrepid has all the movements and everything, but it's because it doesn't have those solid locks, and because it's made of wood and fairly thin metal, you have to be a bit careful. If you're not paying attention, you'll just nudge it slightly out of place, even when you've got it locked down. That's not to say that the Carbon Adventurer is beyond being nudged when it's in place, but it is more rigid. They're two very good cameras. For the money, there isn't a cheaper way really if you want movements to get into shooting large format than the Intrepid. But I really love my Carbon Adventurer. I hope this has been of some help to somebody. At the very least, I hope it's justified me spending my money on my Chroma, a camera I'm very pleased with. Alright, thanks everybody, bye!